Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up in our news tonight, the former Minister of Health weighs in on recent COVID cases in schools. The vaccine schedule for the Family Islands is released. The WHO warns younger persons against social gatherings. And the DRA says it will be several years before Hurricane Dorian cleanup is complete. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain, topping news tonight. Despite a recent surge in COVID-19 cases, former Health Minister Dr. Dorian Sands is admitting that stopping in-person learning at this time may not be necessary. Our Berthanite McDermott tells us more.
Former Health Minister Dr. Dorian Sands suggested closing schools at this point isn't necessary.
I am not aware that the data demonstrates that schools are a major source of COVID contamination in the Bahamas. But let's keep our eyes on it. Understand that when we deprive students of an education, the impact can be for a lifetime.
Dr. Sands added the focus should be on ensuring students follow COVID-19 safety protocols.
Getting the message out, teaching children and students how to protect themselves with appropriate public health measures will probably be the safest place to go.
On Monday, Education Director Marcellus Taylor confirmed that 5 public schools confirmed cases of COVID-19 in New Providence. He said an estimated 15 people are impacted, including positive cases and contacts of positive cases in schools, which were closed for deep cleaning. However, Dr. Sands reasons that deep cleaning isn't necessary.
We now know that COVID transmission from surfaces is far, far less likely than we thought originally. And so the idea that somehow you're going to deep clean schools to make them safe, I think is a bit, I don't think it's an appropriate approach.
According to Education Minister Jeff Lloyd, health officials have recommended continuing with the hybrid schooling system. Sands, however, advised that there should be scheduled screenings.
And then screening, whether screening is done on a weekly basis or a fortnightly basis, we'd have to come up with some approach.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthanite McDermott.
And Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd says he's concerned education workers may not be adhering to COVID-19 safety protocols, which could affect examinations.
I am concerned only to the extent that any of our students, parents, invigilators, workers, teachers, administrators do not, as I have stated earlier, adhere to, follow rigorously the health mandates as prescribed by the health authorities. That will, of course, concern us. And naturally, to the extent that that is known to us, me, the minister, and our team, then we are going to do something about it.
Just this week, the Ministry of Education revealed that 5 schools reported confirmed COVID-19 cases. The cases include a school administrator and some students. Lloyd stressed that education officials will not allow anyone to put the lives of employees or students at risk.
Because once again, we cannot afford, as a Ministry of Government or anyone, to put the safety and the health of our students, teachers, administrators, parents, visitors, and vigilators at risk. Remember our motto here in the Ministry of Education: safety first, education always.
Vaccine sites throughout the Family Islands are expected to be up and running by the end of next week. Dr. Mercelyn Del Regis says the ambitious plan will begin on Monday for Andros, Maguana, Inagua, Crooked Island, Acklins, Long Key, Andros, Ragged Islands, and mainland Exuma. Sites on the remaining islands will be up by Friday. Dr. Del Regis says that the days and times for each island will be published on opm.gov.bs website, and Family Islanders can book their appointments online.
We're appealing to the Family Island residents to make their appointments online at vax.gov.bs. If you are unable to make an appointment online, and if you are unable to ask a family member or friend for help, online appointments would be provided at the site. However, the online appointment process cuts down on wait times and promotes a more efficient system.
As the Vaccine Consultative Committee attempts to bolster its schedule for the Family Island inoculations, it is also making efforts to secure other vaccines. Dr. Del Regis says they have already reached out to several suppliers, but some of those other options may not be available in the Bahamas until next year.
The Pfizer vaccine requires ultra-cold storage, and that is not available, particularly in our archipelago. The Moderna directly told us we could put in an order for 2022. And Johnson & Johnson, that's currently available, said that they don't have they don't have the supplies. But given that the COVAX facility, we benefited from the COVAX facility, we could not be in their queue to receive Johnson & Johnson vaccines.
Since the vaccine rollout began in March, 21,907 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine have been administered at vaccination sites across New Providence, Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, and Abaco. A second batch of the vaccine secured through COVAX is expected to be in country before the end of May. And the director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, sending a strong message to younger people to avoid social gatherings, as a recent spike in cases have been linked to persons between the ages of 25 and 59. COVID-19 cases in persons between the ages of 25 and 59 are increasing at an alarming rate due to increased social mixing, according to the WHO director, who is calling on young persons to continue to adhere to COVID-19 safety protocols, despite relaxed measures in their countries.
Infections and hospitalizations among people aged 25 to 59 are increasing at an alarming rate, possibly as a result of highly transmissible variants and increased social mixing among younger adults. Today, the Emergency Committee gave me its advice on vaccines, variants, international travel, and other issues.
Those recommendations include manufacturers bumping up the number of COVID-19 vaccines being distributed. Ghebreyesus is calling on manufacturers to do what they can, as herd immunity is the only chance most countries will have at fighting this pandemic.
On Friday, WHO issued an expression of interest for establishing a COVID-19 technology transfer hub for mRNA vaccines to increase production of those vaccines in low and middle-income countries. We're calling for the original manufacturers of mRNA vaccines to contribute their technology and know-how, and for manufacturers in low and middle-income countries to express interest in receiving that technology. We have seen incredible innovation in science. Now, we need innovation to ensure as many people as possible benefit from that science.
As Earth Day was observed this week, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus called on persons to do two things: remember to adhere to COVID-19 safety protocols and to remember to do their part in taking care of the planet.
COVID-19 has now killed more than 3 million people. Air pollution kills more than double that number, 7 million people every single year. Despite temporary improvements in air quality last year as a result of so-called lockdowns, by September, air pollution had returned to pre-pandemic levels.
Also to come on our news, how Hurricane Dorian cleanup is going. And a little later, our Marcellus Hall has the hottest sports highlights. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
The Disaster Reconstruction Authority revealing that it still has quite a bit of work ahead in the cleanup of the destruction left behind following Hurricane Dorian in 2019. Managing Director of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, Catherine Smith, says according to the latest statistics, more than 3,000 homes are still in need of repairs.
According to the latest DRA statistics, there is a need to complete the repair of 3,735 homes between Abaco and Grand Bahama. There is 3.5 million cubic yards of collected debris that must be reduced and sorted. Marine cleanup has to take place as second homeowners return to the mainland of Abaco and the Keys. And while some debris has been removed from areas around the McLeanstown dock, work must continue on the marine front here in Grand Bahama as well, particularly the East Grand Bahama area.
The DRA is also dealing with a housing shortage on Abaco and Grand Bahama.
There is a severe housing shortage in Abaco, particularly for public offices and renters. On Grand Bahama, renters are having a tough time finding rental units that are also affordable. Critical infrastructure at the airport and hospital on Grand Bahama has to be replaced. Thankfully, the first phase of the RAN hospital work is completed, and I understand an opening imminent. In a sense, we have only begun to set the blank canvas for a more resilient reconstruction effort.
According to Smith, there is no quick fix to the disaster that Dorian has left behind.
We've estimated at our current resource level that sustainable development as a result of reconstruction could take several years.
A mother of 5 opens up about her recent cancer diagnosis. Jared Higgs tells us more.
37-year-old Kayshelle Marshall was overjoyed when she gave birth to her 5th child 5 months ago.
She's good, happy, she don't understand.
What the newborn doesn't understand is that her mother was diagnosed with cancer just a month ago. The discovery was devastating, but Marshall is visibly happier when talking about her children.
I'm so sorry I have to put them through this, and to the other kids who understand. My oldest son is 18, just coming out of school. Yeah.
Marshall first knew something was wrong when she was experiencing odd pains during her pregnancy. She was eventually diagnosed with chondrosarcoma, a bone sarcoma, which is a primary cancer made up of cells that produce cartilage. Her sister Khadisha Renee says it has been tough on their family.
We're very family oriented, so this is a blow for all of us.
Renee described her sister as a humble person who loves God. She says they're staying hopeful.
We're just praying, we're hoping that this would hurry pass. This too shall pass. We're holding on to faith and we're trusting God that He is definitely going to heal her. The doctors could say one thing, but at the end of the day, God has the final say on everything.
Marshall says the cancer caught her off guard and completely changed her life. Once a more vibrant person, now she has trouble walking.
I'm a family person. I love my family, We used to do all kind of things together, go on the boat, the beach, the curve and wills and stuff, have family time. But, now I can't even really do those things like that no more.
The diagnosis has also left her in a tough financial predicament, and her sister says families rallying around to support her.
We're just asking for any help we can get. We're having a cookout the end of next month, also to help with any medical assistance.
Marshall is set to travel for treatment next week. If you're able to assist, you can make a donation to her Royal Bank of Canada account number 7159056, the Mackey Street branch. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Following the onset of a 3rd wave of COVID-19 and 5 confirmed cases in schools across New Providence, one Angleston resident stepped up to donate $6,000 worth of sanitary items and personal protective equipment to 2 inner-city schools. Quinton Presenti says he wanted to help to protect teachers and students.
As a result of what's going on, I guess, globally, we want to ensure that both teachers and students are protected and they have some of the equipment needed, necessary for them to do their daily life. We wish not that the school year be disrupted anymore, and so we thought that this presentation would have been very vital and useful.
The donation was shared equally between E.P. Roberts Primary School and R.M. Bailey Senior High School. Presenti says R.M. Bailey holds a special place in his heart as it is his alma mater. Principals of both schools explained the donation will go a long way.
This will go a far way because we know that there are some students who are unable to afford masks, hand sanitizers, and we have them here.
Our motto is safety first, and so the additional items that were donated will definitely go a long way in helping us to make sure that our school environment is as safe as possible, so that our students can learn and thrive.
The donation, which includes boxes of KN95 masks, gloves, hand sanitizers, and dispensers, was sponsored by IMAX Distributors. When our news comes back from the break, Roadworks and Exuma continue, and Long Island gets a much-needed infrastructure upgrade. That's coming up when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
You're watching our news. Thanks for staying with us. The future of oil drilling in the Bahamas may still be up in the air, but the company that spearheaded the effort is making a few changes for its future endeavors, starting with a new CEO and a new name. According to Bahamas Petroleum Company's website, CEO Simon Porter will step down from his role on May 20th to make room for the company's current commercial director, Eitan Uil. Meanwhile, as the company seeks to expand its operations in Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, and Uruguay, the board is seeking to rename the company Challenger Energy Group. Last month, BPC announced plans to secure an extension to drill another exploratory well in the Bahamas. Environmentalists have hit out, saying the extension should not be granted. And more than 9 months after it was announced that Exuma's crumbling roads are on track for a much-needed upgrade, that work is still ongoing, much to the frustration of Exuma residents. Our news team got a first-hand look at the roadworks that are currently underway less than half a mile from the Exuma International Airport Terminal. The roads appear to have aged well beyond their 15-year useful lifespan. Former president of Exuma's Taxi Cab Association, Pastor Robin Thompson, says it's an eyesore that has been dragging on for far too long.
Somewhat of a disturbance, unnecessary for the length of time and for the hazard that is causing. We understand road construction and development. All of us throughout this country have seen somewhat what development, road development is all about. But this what is happening here is an absolute nuisance because it has been now almost 2 months and they haven't gone 1/8 of a mile. And it's just from one level of confusion and frustration to the next.
Last July, Ministry of Works senior engineer for the Family Islands, David Cox, told media that the condition of the island's roads range from fair to poor, given that they have not been overhauled for more than 20 years. He added that much of Exuma's infrastructure is older than 15 years, which is the life cycle for a road surface mixture that is well maintained. In July, it was also revealed that the Ministry of Works has hired Caribbean Pavement Solutions, a subsidiary of the Bahamas Striping Company group of companies, to carry out the work. But Thompson says the messy road is not a good look for visitors.
We pride ourselves in giving luxury service to our luxury partners, and we have to take our guests through these nonsense that makes absolutely no sense. Their first experience is one that lasts with them. But then, they come back right through that nonsense. And we call it the White Sea.
And the new ambulance is set for Long Island after years of using makeshift emergency vehicles to transport injured residents for medical care. Long Island Member of Parliament Adrian Gibson says he had an uncle who was involved in a bad traffic accident. His uncle was taken to the clinic on the back of a truck and later died. Now he says he hopes those days are long behind Long Islanders.
For many years, my people have, whenever they get sick or on the brink of death, have been transported to the airport for emergency flights or to the clinics in a very undignified manner. You know, you're in the throes of illness and you're being transferred in the back of a truck in the hot sun.
When Alive first began connecting customers on Long Island, a promise was made to return with an ambulance for the island care. Chief Alive Officer Damian Blackburn says those plans were a little delayed, but the ambulance is here. Cable Bahamas CEO Franklin Butler added that he hopes that the donation makes a difference in the lives of Long Islanders.
We were blown off course a little bit by Hurricane Dorian. In particular, and of course the pandemic in kind of executing the plan, but I'm delighted today that we're handing over the ambulance to the community of Long Island.
And we look forward to this ambulance keeping the people of Long Island alive and making a difference in healthcare and community down in Long Island.
Well, coming up on our news, your Sunday sports special, plus the most memorable quotes of this week. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
You're watching our news. Our Marcellus Hall has your Sunday sports special with all the highlights.
Bahamian Dante Stewart continuing to play well for the Northwestern State Demons. Yesterday, Stewart and the Demons taking on the Nichols Colonels. Stewart, who was a cousin of current Major Leaguer Jazz Chisholm, crushing a pair of home runs to help lead his squad to a 7-3 victory. Demons now 12-9 in conference play. Afterwards, Stewart saying, seeing what Jazz is doing has indeed inspired him.
What he's doing is amazing at the MLB level, and every time I check on my Instagram stuff, I see him hitting a home run or making a nice play. And it really does motivate me to put on for my family, put on for my people back in the Bahamas, and do all I can for this team.
So the Demons will continue their regular season play throughout the course of the season. We'll keep you abreast of Stewart and their progress. Reporting for our news, which is Sunday Sports Check, I'm Marcellus Hall.
Now it's time to look at the most memorable quotes of the week. Our first quote comes from the Minister of Tourism responding to the United States Center for Disease Control, warning travelers to avoid travel to the Bahamas.
Deeply concerning. It is going to impact tourism. Maybe the rebound is not as quick as we expect. We've all been seeing the number of positive cases. So it was only a matter of time before we cross that threshold and get downgraded from a level 3 to a level 4.
Next is Dr. Indira Martin, who weighed in on the results sent abroad to test for new variants in the country.
There is evidence of an increasing number of genomic deletions, which means that this is indicative of variant strains.
The final confirmation for us will be when we get back the CARFA samples. We sent 10 CARFA samples off at the beginning of March, which happens to be around the time when it appears, based on the trend data, that these variants may have come into the country and kind of expanded. So, but once we get the sequencing data from those 10 samples back, that will tell us, number one, it'll help to confirm our approach internally, although we're pretty confident because it's being used ubiquitously throughout the world. So it will confirm our approach. And secondly, it will also tell us which of the 3 variants of concern is in country, or it might be more than one, who knows.
And the final quote of the week comes from Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who announced privileges for those who opt to take the jab.
Once they have received
the second dose of the vaccine, or they have met the vaccination requirements. They do not need any further testing to move about through our Bahamaland.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.